just in time. It's been a bit of a manic morning. We've both had a quick run of fish. This is actually the fourth fish of the morning. Alex has had a couple, and this will be my second of the morning. We had a bit of a quiet night really, and then as soon as the sun popped its head up, so did the fish. We've seen a bit more more activity in the area, and I was actually just about to recast one of the rods over to a bit further over where we saw quite a few fish showing, and one of the rods on the spots rattled off, so it's on the code red again. We've got through a bit of that so far, haven't we, mate? But this is Hard Fighting Common, who's ready for the net, I think. He's woken up a bit now, look. Caught him once again on the naked chod, just presented over the top of the weed. You know, my line sinks down pretty well, and it tricked him this time. Job's a good one. Well, what a result in the frantic spell this morning. A 28-pound mirror,
A 28-pound common.
one after another, just like the buses. We waited all night. We thought we were going to be in for quite a few fish. They were in the area, weren't they?
Definitely, yeah.
And these two have come along literally. I'm playing this fish whilst he's playing that fish. Absolutely awesome. Another great example of the fish that live here. I mean, these fish will both be, you know, proper old Western originals. Been in here a long time, haven't they?
Nice, dark, original, beautiful fish.
Lovely old warriors. Gnarly, dare we say. Let's pop these back because we have caught a couple more, and we'll show you those as well, along with the tactics we used to catch them. Well, this lovely 20-pound common, Mr. Angry, it was a nice start to the morning to follow a 28-pounder. It's crazy to think this is half the size of the one that Alex had yesterday, but you can see that it's got the same bloodline, lovely dark fish, loads of character, plenty of length on it. I mean, this might be a big fish for the future, but it could be one of the old girls that's just been a 21-pound common for all of his life. But again, it was caught on the chod rig in the weed. I'm going to show you that now because there are some really finer points to that I think make a massive difference. You know, a lot of people talk to me about chod rigs and they have problems with them. Well, I don't. So we'll go into the finer points right after we've had a look at Alex's other fish this morning. Look at that, another fish. Got his winter coat on. Looks almost blue in the water. Lovely white lips. He's ready to go. He can sense the freedom of home. Off you go, fella. See you when you're a 40.
Well, there you have it. A beautiful 23 dark Western mirror, which doesn't want to behave. Now, on a mad feeding spell, you can't see this, but my mat is absolutely covered in hemp. Hemp and boilies. The code red and hemp is absolutely piling out. It's still a little bit angry. It's a beautiful, nice, dark mirror, which has clearly been eating the bait. My third fish of the session. I'm absolutely chuffed. Caught on a slightly different rig, which I'm going to show you later. I have these two rods on the PVA bag and one on a slightly variation of a hinge stiff rig, just into the weed a little bit. Now this fish is going to beat me up, so I'm going to stick her back and try and catch another one. The spot's rocking. I'm getting a few liners and I'm hopeful of a couple more.
Well, as you can see by the state of me and him, it's been a good morning, hasn't it? I was just sat on my bed making the first, well, it wasn't the first brew of the morning, it was the third brew of the morning.
You've made a brew?
Oh, yeah, sorry, mate.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry, mate, but I had to have a new cup, seeing how you broke my other
Well.
one. And, yeah, first rod rattles off. You shout me to tell me that you're in, and I'm like, yeah, so am I.
It was a bit carnage, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was like, how heavy's yours? £28, well, how heavy's yours? £28, happy days, mirror in a common. Lovely fish, aren't they?
Yeah, beautiful.
I thought the both of them were a bit bigger, you know, when you looked at them in the net. They look, in this clear water, it does get the heart fluttering, because 30 is nice, isn't it? Especially on camera.
Yeah, I mean, any fish is nice, but a third, you know, a 20 is a beautiful fish, you know.
But I don't know about you, I mean, I was up early this morning, You know, when you wake up and you look at your rods and you almost expect the bobbin to be on the floor. Maybe the receiver didn't work. But no, there they were. All 3 of my little soldiers, not even moved. And then out of the blue, you got the rod tips like that, and the right hand one's going, ooh, well, that'd be a bite then.
Yep. I mean, we've had 4 fish in a very short space
Yeah,
of time.
or
haven't we?
what,
I mean,
half an hour?
yeah.
Half an hour. I think literally the camera guys have come running around the lake because they're over on the other side and we're like, we're in. Anyway, it's nice to have those fish because it made me feel good that, I mean, I found a new spot last night that I didn't know was there.
Yeah.
I've chucked a lead out, it's gone down with a right thud, which on here, means there's a hole in the weed and that's probably good. So I followed the feeling down with a thud with about 1 kilo of code red. You know, and I haven't put that much bait in on any spot.
No. I mean, we've give it to them, haven't we?
Yeah.
You know, we've both been fortunate enough to catch a fish early-ish in the first day, really.
Yeah.
So,
well, the common denominator for both of us has been bait.
yeah, of course.
You know, it's still early in the year. The fish aren't exactly ripping the bottom to pieces.
No.
But when we have seen them, we've seen signs of them feeding, bubbling, coloured water.
Yeah.
So you know they're on the prowl.
Yeah.
And you know that those fish that are feeding want something to eat.
The other nice thing is we've both actually caught them on contrasting methods, haven't we?
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
you know, you can't get any different, can you?
No.
You're lying it on top of the weed, you've stuck a fish out, which is brilliant angling. You know, and I was in that stage where luckily the sun was out, I could see the spot.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a carp in the area, and I took a bit of a gamble and put a bit more bait in, probably maybe a little bit more than what I'm used to. But I did felt, you know, we've been saying it all morning, haven't we? Just when that sun keeps coming
Last
round.
night, I felt like tonight's going to be fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's a shame we didn't have some floodlights to film in the dark.
Yeah, of course.
We've been getting the odd little bleep this morning.
Yeah.
Oh. Right on cue. Hello. We have been getting liners.
Yep.
So we're both preparing to leg it. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to finish my brew first.
Well, that's just being picky, isn't it?
Well, we've both. I mean, you've caught 2 fish now on that solid bag setup, haven't you? And I've caught all of my fish on that naked chod setup.
Yeah.
But you did have the last fish you had was actually on a different setup, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something else. Rather than go down the chod route, which a lot of, you know, is overfished. Generally speaking, it's an overfished method. And yes, I know it works, and it's a fantastic, and it's been interesting seeing how you fish it in this sort of situation, you know, because it will put fish on the bank for me later on.
Yeah.
I'm just maybe a little bit, you know, I like my own methods. I've got confidence in my own ability, you know, in my own methods really, and confidence in it. And I have another system which is very similar to Ian's flick rig, but without the sort of long shank hook. You know,
so you're fishing sort of like a chod rig on the end of a supple boom.
Yeah, off the avid pin down £20 because it's a beautiful fin, weighs down, and basically what I'm trying to achieve, you know, I will fish that from anything from 10 inches to 2 foot.
Yeah.
Because what I want is the lead to hit the bottom, and then basically
Just sort of snake.
it will just sort of find its own way, and it will just nestle on top of the weed.
That pin down material is sort of it's actually a PTFE fibre.
Okay,
which is really dense.
Yeah.
Without needing, it's no tungsten in it. There's nothing like that.
No,
it's just much denser than water, so it sinks like a stone.
Yeah.
As Ian says, it's like a melting shell suit. It sticks to everything. It hugs you.
I do. It's just supple. It's brilliant, and I think it will be very good for me to try it in my PVA bags because it's perfect for it. Really, to be honest with you, you know, it's strong, it's supple, it sinks. I haven't got to put much shot on it or anything. I can just put it in and do it, and I will start doing that. To be fair.
Well, after you caught that fish, I have got a rod that at the moment is a bit of a passenger, and he hasn't produced a fish for me. So I've swapped that over to something very similar to that setup.
Yeah.
And I do think that might be a good way of sneaking a fish out.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
So we shall see what the rest of the morning brings. We've got cloud cover, hardly any wind, no sunshine.
Yep.
So rather than seeing fish cruising round sort of looking like they might be up for a dog biscuit, I think we might have them fizzing up and looking like they're looking for a bit of code red, mate.
I think so. They've certainly been on it at the moment, haven't they? So it's been nice. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable session, and we've still got, you know, the important thing is, you know, we're not rushing into decisions. We're just, you know, we're relaxed a little bit because we caught a fish early, you know, and that helps in a session. You know, if I hadn't caught and we were at this time now, you know, you really have got to force the issue a little bit. You know, I've got till this evening to fish. I will basically wind in, and I will just keep looking around the lake. And somewhere around the lake, at some point within a few hours, you will find an opportunity to.
Oh yeah, I'm certain
Yeah.
that. I mean, like the spot I found, I had a hunch that with nobody fishing opposite us,
Yeah.
you know, the other anglers are sort of down that end of the lake and up this corner.
Yeah.
There's a quiet area.
Yeah, of course.
And
yeah.
I said to you, I just wonder if that's where
Yeah.
they've gone, and it turned out it
Yeah,
was.
I mean, that just
but then you've had a bite 200 yards away
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah.
So what do I know?
No.
What do I know? I'm just going to drink coffee and we'll see how we go, eh?
Yeah, we need to crack open a cider a bit later and celebrate again, don't we?
I think I'm going to go to the pub on my way home. That sounds like more of a plan. We can toast that big common.
Yep, I'm up for that. Here you go, Matt. The 10th brew I've made you this session. What are you up to?
10th brew. Christ. I don't think so. I'm just having a look through the pictures we took so far, mate.
Come out
I
right?
don't think you've seen these yet, have you?
No, not yet. I'm quite intrigued. I haven't had a chance yet.
Look at that.
That's a nice headshot, isn't it?
Yeah. Look at him.
I've got that. I mean, I'm still blown away, to be honest with you. I've seen some really nice, you know, that fish over the last 3 years. I've seen it at some good weights, and I've seen some really beautiful, you know, stunning pictures, and quite inspiring, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I don't really target fish in the sense that, you know, I think it's quite hard to target fish, and also if you get fixed on a fish like that and you don't catch it, you're a bit
Yeah.
despondent when you do catch and you don't catch it.
Well, we spoke maybe a month ago, didn't we? Because we've both been here baiting, you know, fishing the back end of the winter.
Yeah.
And, you know, we both said traditionally that fish has come out of
Yeah.
the bay swim, the step swim. I think
Yeah.
it may have come off the corner of this meadow, but long, you know. So it's the
Yeah.
same sort, always been the same sort of area of the lake, hasn't
I
it?
think the last couple of years, I mean, you know, from I'd say about 7-8 captures, it has been stalked at the back of the boathouse swim, but generally speaking, it just loves that main body of the lake, that area. And you know, I have had times where I've been catching fish this winter, and it's quite easy to sort of go up to the shallows and sort of, not quite easy, that's an injustice really, but you know you can. The fish
There's
that have
always
been
a
there.
few fish about there. Yeah.
It's
they
a
have been
natural
up there.
patrol route that they come around the reeds.
You almost can't walk past them, can't you?
Yeah.
A friend of mine used to say to me, if you wanted to catch bigger fish, you needed to learn to walk past the small ones. And I'm not just sure that he's correct, because it's a lot of fun catching the small ones. And often something that happens catching those other fish leads you to what eventually happens with the big one.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because you've caught that fish on exactly the same tactics as you've caught all this number of fish without getting a big one.
Yeah, of course.
So,
And I've had a lot of-
was it the tactic, or was it just that big fish wasn't in the mood that day? You know.
Yesterday was my day for that
Yeah.
fish, wasn't it? You know.
Well, it was crazy for me because your spot didn't really, it slicked up a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
There was no liners.
No.
I'd been getting liners most of the day. There were no fizzing, nothing really to say that they were there.
No.
The first time you knew they were there
Was
is
when
when
it
you were
went-
biting along going, whee! And you got stuck to the chair with the sound recording system and couldn't get up.
It could have gone horribly wrong, let's put it that way. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have fished that swim, and back end of the winter when, you know, I've had a good winter on here, and I sort of started to fish this main body of the lake for that reason, you know, because I've had an incredible run on here, and I just felt like to finish my chapter on this lake, it would be nice to sort of catch
Cap
a
it
big
off.
fish. Now, I'm not, you know, I've said it before, I'm not all about catching big fish. I just love catching. You know, I had a 13-pounder after a few blanks over from that step swim.
Yeah.
And that fish, you know, you asked a couple of my mates, Stevie and that, and I was so excited, you know, I was so excited, and it was great because, you know, I'd had a couple of blanks, I'd worked hard, I'd seen a few fish, starting to see the odd sign, and I actually, you know, it doesn't, you know, you could like anything could happen. You catch a 13-pounder, a 40-pounder, and that's just fishing.
Well, I think like yesterday, with all the messages coming through, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, is you earned that one, mate. And there was never a true word spoken. with chod rigs, there are a number of ways to get it right and a lot of ways to get it wrong. And for me, keeping it simple is best. You know, you can get all manner of different devices for chod rigs. There's loads of different hooks, loads of different materials. But for me, I'd sort of stick with the tried and trusted, and then I haven't got to worry about it. Let's go through the finer points in detail, because the rig itself, in principle, seems like, well, it's a stiff hook link, set up the line a little bit with the pop-up on, which is true, but it's more about how you set that up that I think makes a lot of difference. The first thing you must have is a properly stiff hook link. Now, depending on what you're fishing over and how sort of weedy the venue is, how big the fish are, you've got a 20 and 25 pound stiff bristle filament there, stiff rig filament. It's proper rigid, straight off the spool. In fact, it wants to fly off the spool. You know, you're talking about a material that's somewhere between mono and a wire. You know, it's already comes off with a bit of a curve on it. And it's absolutely ideal. The 20 pounds probably a little bit easier to mould in your hands and get the curve that you really want. You know, if you like to have a big long curve, then the 20 pounds probably the one. But for the kind of curve that I like, which I'll go on to in a minute, the 25 pounds are one for me. It's the stiffest one of the two, obviously with it being thicker material. It's got that little bit more rigidity that you need. Now the curve itself has been the subject of much discussion. People have them curved right round like that. Some people fish them dead straight. I prefer what I would call the thumb curve. Many moons ago, when the chod rig was first revealed to the world, Terry Hearn talked about this. And he used to talk about it a lot when he was talking about his hinge stiff rigs in the pop-up section. And basically, he wanted the curve to be like the back of his thumb. So with my rig, I try and set it up to curve a bit like the back of my thumb. So you see that, it follows it round. It's ideal really, it's a good reference point. You know, I think a lot of people lose fish on chods because perhaps they're messing about a bit too much with this arrangement here. You know, they've got big loop knots here. For me, a 2-2 and blood knot's absolutely fine. It's really easy to tie. That curve just hangs the hook prone. And what seems to happen is, imagine we're upside down now. Every time, it doesn't matter whether a fish comes from this direction, every time that hook turns and wants to find a hold. So no matter where the fish's mouth touches it, it's always prone to get you a bite. The other thing that you need to pay major importance to is this, the hook bait. It's got to be buoyant. It seems like chod rigs are more successful when it's almost pulling at both ends. So it's this bait is almost trying to pull that straight. Is you've got everything all at cross purposes underwater, and that seems to give the fish a bit more of a problem. It also means that you can carefully balance your bait to try and get it to sink the same, same speed as the freebies or slower than the freebies. It's totally up to you depending on what you're fishing over. Today, I'm fishing over quite a lot of weed. I want it to sink really slowly. So a Code Red Super Chod is perfect for me. The other thing that you need to pay attention to, hooks is personal. There's loads of different hooks out there. Use the one you like. That's my example. That's what I would say to you. That's my advice. I'm using either a mixture of an Avid CHD hook or a little prototype that we're working on, which is pretty nice. But this bit here, see, so many anglers get this wrong, and I'm sure it's what makes a big difference. If you look right down the barrel of that now, the hook point and line are all in a line. So when I put my hand around it like that, you don't see any gaps. It's all in line. Sometimes people cast them out and they're like that, a little bit skew-if, or the curve's off to one side. And I'm sure what happens is you just don't hook the fish quite in the right place. Sometimes you might hook them a little bit earlier, like an offset hook works. But I think spending the time to make sure that's all in line, and you know, this material allows you to do that, it's not difficult. Getting that all in one line is exactly what you want on your choddies. So give it a try. Put your chod rig under the microscope, because there might be a reason why you've been losing fish. It's not the hook, it's not the arrangement. Give it a chance. It is very, very good in certain situations, especially on weedy, shallow, silty estate lakes. for me, there is no better, and I've got it out on every rod, so I must have some faith in it. It's caught me 3 fish. I'm hoping it's going to catch me some more. With those tips, I'm sure it'll catch you a few more as well.
Talked earlier about Matt fishing the chod rig and why he's done it, how he's presented it. Now, my sort of version of it is very similar, same sort of components, but I actually fish it on a lead clip. Now, like I said, I feel, you know, the chods are overused, and also with this weed, it's up and down, and it's sort of, you know, your line's not going to sync totally with the contour. So I generally think, because of that reason, you know, your line's going to be like a washing line, and especially with this weed, you get a load of almost like algae sort of collect to your line, and it just makes it look like a washing line and sticks out. So my sort of version is fish it normal, semi-tight lines on a lead clip. So basically the main components of this rig is pin down, and I use it in 20 pound. Obviously we've got the weed colour suited for this type of venue, really. It's absolutely perfect. Now I fish that, generally speaking, on what depth I feel the weed is. Now it's obviously always difficult to tell, but you can get a feel for it when you cast the lead out as it hits the water. Generally speaking, all my marker float's done with a lead, and I can sort of count down. I know sort of like a lead will take X amount of seconds to reach X amount of feet. Now if you sort of, you're not feeling that donk down, you can work out roughly with practice how deep the weed is. So like I said, my rig will be according to that. Now it's quite simple. I've got a prototype Avid chod hook onto the Captive stiff rig material, and all I've tied on that is just literally a basic chod rig, really, with a ring swivel and a length of pin down onto a lead clip. Now my idea for it really is when the lead hits the water and it sort of sinks into the weed, what I've got then is you know, it's very critically balanced, so it is a really slow sinker, and what will happen is the boilie will just sort of very slowly just nestle up, and it will, you know, just sit nicely on top of it. And it's my way of presenting it go anywhere rig, really. It's similar to the chod in that sense, because, you know, as you walk around the lake, you'll see bubbles and stuff like that, and we have got a typically very weedy, shallow estate lake, so it just enables me, if I'm fishing very mobile and on the move, I can find the fish. You know, that could be fizzing fish, showing fish, or watching the fish, you know, and it's my go anywhere rig, basically. And that is what I caught one of my fish early on this morning. So it's been quite nice, actually. I've had 3 bite on one on each rod, and one of them's presented with this rig and the other 2 on the PVA bag. And it's, you know, my main concern is not what the gear looks like, not what bait to use, not bait application. It's just purely really location, and at the end of the day, location is really key. It's everything. I mean, you could sit behind the rods all day, not have a bleep, but yet around the corner there could be some sort of activity, feeding activity, which is going to present you with a chance of a bite. It's now about 3 o'clock. It's about bite time, because that's what time I had the big girl yesterday. So I've sat here patiently all day. It's gone a little bit quiet. The fish have moved off a bit, and I'm hoping we've kept everything nice and stealth, and I've got another chance for a bite. A lot of the fishing at Weston Park is a little bit of snag fishing, fishing as close as you can to the rhododendrons. Now, it's quite tricky, and this swim's very tricky, but it's something which has caught me a lot of fish, to be honest with you, because round the roadies you've got a nice depth. You know, you've got that sort of depth, and it's just a beautiful hideaway for the carp, and they do spend a lot of their time tucked in the edges, hiding out the way of angling pressure and everything else, because it is a clear lake, so daytime they just tend to get right in there. Now, what I wanted to show you here really is it's a tricky cast. It's about 70 yards. I've got the tree behind me to contend with. I've got trees above me to contend with, trees to the left, and the spot itself, you know, I'm aiming to hit an area probably about 2 foot square. Now, right by the area, there's actually another overhanging silver birch. Now, that makes it a little bit more harder. So what I've got to do is when I cast it, I've got to punch it low and hard so it doesn't loft in and hit the tree. It punches in and goes in. Now, the key to this is, you know, I could get lucky and I could do it first cast. The chances of that happening are pretty slim. Now, you know, unless I do get lucky, but in reality, I will keep going and keep going until I hit that spot. Now, the reason for it is it might take you 10 casts, but once it's there, you know, you're pretty likely to get a bite. Now, what I've got, again, is my PVA bag. Now, the reason for that is when I get it there, I know 100% that that rig is fishing right. And because it's a very fast punch of a cast, you know, I just know I'm not going to get any tangles. So basically next to me, what I've got my box of PVA bags ready, all tied. I've got 8 in there, 3 on the top. I'm hoping not to use 8 because obviously it does take a bit of time to do, but it's worth doing. So I'm gonna see if I can hit it. And that, my friends, is how you do it. That's a bite. We're sat there, it's approaching 4 o'clock. I've had no bleeps, no signs, no anything. And my right hand rod on the rig I just showed you a few minutes ago has absolutely rattled off. It was a screaming take. So, it's trying to find a few weed beds at the moment, so I'm just going to give it a bit of pressure and see what hopefully is on the end. Like I said, starting from the hook end, been using Code Red and we've been sticking quite a bit in this session. I think I've gone for about 4 or 5 kilos and about the same in particles. They really have, when they've been on it, they've really been having it. So it's just been a case of applying the bait at the right times, really. And like I said, when we talked about it a lot yesterday, that we felt the bites are going to come later on in the day, and I've sat here patiently, and that's exactly what's happened. So for once in my angling, the plan has come together, which is quite nice. I have been spotting out again a bit more hemp. A lot of 12mm boilies have gone over the top, 15s and 18s, and I've just stuck that same rig on really, with a nice little Code Red pop-up on the end. So there's no pressure here because, well, there's actually plenty of pressure because I've sat patiently all day for this one bite, and they have kind of done the off-ski really. We had a bit of activity, that flurry this morning, all of a sudden it's gone very slow. Now this fish is acting totally different to the other fish. It's ended up kiting right, and I'm going to be in a bit of trouble again. It's going to come up under my feet in a minute if I keep going this rate. I've got an MSX rod on, which is 3 1/4 pound, and it's just, they're a beautiful rod, to be honest with you. And there we have it, another one in the net. 4th of the session, I'm chuffed with that.
Well, Alex, that is a nice, fine way to round off a lovely bronze warrior from Weston Park. You must be chuffed.
I am,
4th
mate.
fish.
4 fish.
It's not even half the size of the one yesterday, but he's still a lovely fish nonetheless.
I mean, he's just beautiful. 19, and he's just stunning, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, it's proof in the pudding as well. You know, we've covered a number of different tactics on this session, and you know, we really wanted to show people how to approach venues like this. It's not necessarily how to fish here.
No.
This sort of approach will work on all manner of different venues, and that's really important. You know, for For me, I'm buzzing. I've caught a few fish. I was buzzing for you, mate, with that big one. And look at him, fine way to close. Lovely fish, pristine, as always.
Lovely session, mate. It's been enjoyable, and it's been nice. Good company, good fish, amazing fish.
Yeah.
And we've had a giggle along the way.
That's it, man. That's what it's all about.
Well, folks, Matt has gone home, and that rod I cast out to the left-hand margin, which I showed you earlier, has rattled off. I've had no alarm set up. Everything's packed away. We're ready to go home, and I've had an amazing session. And this is just the icing on the top. I've got another beautiful western, stunning little common. It's just made an amazing session even better. To be honest with you,